Hello, everyone, and welcome. Yes, thanks for waiting this couple of minutes. Today is Friday, September 11th. Oh my gosh, September 11th. Yes. Um, I I was gonna say something stupid, but yeah. So I just yeah, I want to welcome you all, and I hope everyone's safe. And we're here for you. This is a highlight of our week. We're glad you joined us. We're super excited about this assignment. You guys are incredible and fantastic. If you are watching us from the future, then thank you for being here also. And some people are here and we love it. So um, I think I'm ready, and I just wanted to check one thing because I want to give you a little bit of uh, an explanation of exactly how we envision this assignment. And speaking of we, Jen, how are you, love?
Hi, I'm great. I'm so happy it's Friday. In my family, we say it's Friday. Friday.
Oh, that's awesome. How is everyone in Virginia?
Everyone is great. My mom's test came back negative for all of you guys that know all the details, and it's just been awesome ever since. So we're good. I'll be home on Sunday. So
Oh,
back,
wow.
yes.
Wow. Okay, well, um, yes. So thanks for sharing that, and I'm super excited.
Sure.
And yeah, that's I miss you.
I know, I know. Thank God for our private paint so we can actually
I
see each other.
know, I know. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to. Sorry for this bit of a delay because I just want to show you. I think I'm going to share it right now. Yeah, I'm going to share the screen. And thanks for selecting your images. And I just posted a couple of things. But what I wanted to talk about, yeah, I just added the image. Of the painting. And I think that's very important because this is going to be an interpretation, obviously, and there's something about all the images that have been selected and the ones that you posted, the ones that you took, that they have a lot of similarities. And as I was mentioning in the introduction or in the inspiration video, this is going to be about atmosphere, but it's also going to be about color. So the reason why I brought this painting up now, it's because I printed a copy because I think it's going to be important, and we're going to guide you through it. It's going to be important to find out the kind of colors that Monet used in this painting, so we get a little bit of a guideline on what to use. Because ideally, the way I'm going to approach this, and by all means, this is just going to be very personal, but the way I'm going to approach this is that I am going to use the image that I selected. I took this image this morning, and what I'll try to do is I'm going to sketch it with charcoal. I'm going to try to arrange it and see if I make any changes in the composition. I'm going to take my time doing that. But what's going to be important is that when I start painting, what I want to do is I want to start using the colors that Monet used on his painting. So I'm not going to use the dark greens or the grayish, the sort of like pale grays or the ecru's on the sky. I'm going to try to bring some salmon tones, some light blues, some interesting grays, just because I feel I just want to bring in that chromatic inspiration to my image. So that's going to be the challenge. It's going to be the study. And obviously, I'm going to use the same color, or I'm going to try to do a orange red color for the sun. So this is how I envision this. We're going to use I'm going to use the image as an inspiration for the drawing component. And then I'm going to use the painting to find out what kind of like tones and colors he used. so I can use the same on my painting. So for example, the darkest color on this painting, on Monet's painting, is the shadow of the boat, or the dark boat. It's Prussian blue, and it's a desaturated Prussian blue, but it's Prussian blue nevertheless. So I'm going to use that for parts of my painting that are darker. So I'm not going to match the colors of the photograph with the colors I'm going to make. I'm going to try to recreate, explore, experiment with the colors of the painting. So I hope that clarifies a little bit. It's only one way of doing this. Obviously, I'm not saying that that's the only way, but I just wanted to explain how I'm going to approach this and why the painting is so important. And in that sense, I'm just gonna switch or change this and switch the camera. And if you guys, no, I don't think so. Yeah, so we had someone signed up that was new, a new painter, but I don't see him in the group. So if he watches from the future, thanks for signing up. And don't worry about don't worry about anything. I feel like this is so scary for people who don't know about us, and it shouldn't be. Oh, by the way, do you have to have Prussian blue in your palette? No, you don't. You can use any blue that you may have. So on my palette, I'm going to do a little bit of I love what you did, Jen. I don't know if it's going to be too much or what, but so on my palette, what I'm going to use the two whites. This is the zinc white. I'm going to go in order. The zinc, sorry, forget about what I said. This is the titanium white, and this is the zinc white. So I'm using two whites. I'm going to use the Portland gray medium. That's the name of the Gamblin paint, but any gray that you may have can work. And then I'm going to use two blacks. This is the Payne's Gray, which I think I'm going to use because I want to create some cool notes. And this is the Warm Black, Van Dyke Brown. Then I have all the browns right here, which I call secondary neutrals, starting with the raw umber, the burnt sienna, the yellow ochre, and this I call the ecru color, but it's not technically ecru. It's buff titanium, right? Yeah, I think that's, I always say titanium buffed, but I think it's buff titanium.
It's actually, you had it right, titanium buff.
Ah, I always mess it up.
I overcorrected.
Yeah, thanks, Jen. Yeah, so I call this color ecru because I think it's more beautiful. And then we have the light neutrals. So we use this radiant red and radiant blue. This is the name of the paint in Gamblin colors because they're so light that they're very helpful in changing the hue, the value, and the temperature, the temperature of the color. So these two colors we use a lot. This is our staple palette. And then I brought in two additional colors. Orange, I'll probably bring also red, but I didn't want to crowd this too much. And then this is the the Prussian blue. It almost looks like black, but it's not. It's a gorgeous color that doesn't photograph well. So that's the reason why when you see it on the tube or when you see it printed somewhere, it doesn't photograph well at all. The Prussian blue pigment, it is absolutely stunningly rich and very with a high chroma, which means a lot of pigment or a lot of color. All right, so this is my palette, and then this is my reference image. Let me see, sorry if I make you a little dizzy. And I'm gonna start right now with my sketch. I have time. And I'm going to use charcoal. And the first thing that I want to say is that I have two options right now. And I haven't decided yet, so I just don't know, but I'm going to decide in the next couple of seconds. I'm going to explain. My format is a rectangular portrait orientation 12 by 16. Format means the size and the shape of the painting area. So again, it's rectangular, portrait-oriented, 12 by 16. It's fairly large for what we're doing, but it's good because you can see hopefully more detail. The painting surface is cotton paper, which I love. Um, and so that's what I'm going to be using. And so this is the image. And because I used a smartphone, smartphones are not so smart when it comes to taking pictures. So the first thing that happens is that every single photo that we take through a lens, there's going to be a distortion. And most likely the distortion will translate into a fisheye lens distortion. So on real life, or when we see something from life, we don't get this kind of convergence. All the vertical lines, they feel that they're converging to one point. The lines that we see are pretty much vertical. There's not as much, there's no distortion there. I think there's no, I don't know if that's accurate or not, but I'm gonna say there's no distortion when we look at it because our eyes act as cameras obscura, or camera obscura, which is basically light going through a hole. And the properties or of a camera obscura, the main property is that it does not distort the image. Yeah, that's what it is. And that's why a lot of artists and painters, they use camera obscuras and mirrors in order to draw their paintings. So without distortion, all the palm trees and all the trees would be vertical. So if you have a photograph and you see this kind of distortion, you have two options. You can just follow the same distortion, which will mean that our painting will have a photographic look, or you can straighten everything vertical, which will give the painting more of a painted from life look. It's not something that 99.9% of the viewers will appreciate, but there is, it's something that we talk about and it's important to consider. So I think I'm gonna straighten my lines. There you go. So I'm gonna add more of a challenging aspect. So I'm gonna straighten my lines. So what I'm gonna do is, with the charcoal, I'm gonna start arranging the first visual planes. And then, yes, I will strengthen. And I'm gonna crop this palm tree right on top. This one, I'm not gonna crop. So I'm just gonna put it. So I'm using charcoal. I'm creating my first map. I base my decisions on potato shapes and stick figures right now, because what's important is to find out what kind of arrangement I want on this format. It's not about details and resemblance or making things recognizable. It's about composition. And you guys know, because you have seen it week and week again, it's something that we don't consider enough. So what I want to do is to just position my first lines. Yeah, I think that's going to be good. And I love the tree coming in. So there's going to be this mass of foliage. I think that's going to be interesting. So I'm going to group it together. So I have the two cypress trees that are anchoring the composition. We're doing a landscape, and people love landscapes because there's more of a forgiving component when we talk about proportions. We don't necessarily have to be as accurate in measurements and relationships as we have to be when we do portraits, for example, or even still lifes. So there is something about landscapes that allows a little bit more of forgiving spectrum. It doesn't mean like it's easier, and it doesn't mean like we should just do landscapes. Just the opposite. I feel like it's just yeah, it's just a fact. Okay, and then I have the sun. The sun is in the center, but a little bit lower. So I'm going to position that sun, and I love that it's a little bit lower. So when we talk about landscapes, we talk about visual planes. A landscape means the view of an open space, land, meaning not just like the ground, but the entire space. So to create a sense of openness, a sense of infinite space, we have to talk about visual planes. So on a landscape, we always categorize, or we always structure the space in what we call visual planes. A visual plane is nothing more than an area of the landscape that we decide that comes first, and then how the rest of the objects are organized in different planes as we look deeper into the open space. So the visual planes don't have the same location depending on the landscape. Everything is based on the objects that are on the landscape. So my visual planes here would be, the first one is the cypress trees. The next one are the foliage on the across the street. Then and then that's it. There's another one right on this palm tree. They're not on the same visual plane. I think that's important, and the reason is because we have to consider size. We have to consider the saturation of the color. We have to consider how the further away the visual plane, the hazier and more desaturated the color will be, more dissolved the edges will be. So all those things are important in order to create what I just mentioned, that sense of infinite space, openness. If we don't consider that, everything will look flat on the same visual plane, and we will not have this illusion of perspective. Is that wrong? No, it's not wrong. A lot of artists had no clue about visual planes, and yet they just created amazing things. Henri Rousseau comes to mind. He was a self-taught artist, and then his landscapes are very whimsical, and forget about visual planes or anything. Everything feels very graphic and illustration-like, and the paintings are wonderful. He was always frustrated about his work. He thought he wasn't good enough, and that tormented him his entire career. All right, so I think that's okay. Let me just do this visual plane right here, because I think that's also important. So I said the foliage across the street. There's a tree. Am I gonna do the cars? Probably not. And so the banana tree is right here. And then there's another. I'm not going to do this palm tree. Should I do this palm tree? Maybe I will. Yeah. The more I allow myself time to observe, the better I will recognize visual planes, and the more distinct the objects on the landscape will become. So I just have to be patient with the process, and I know every single minute counts, but it's also important for me to observe and find out how to unfold, unpack, deconstruct everything that's happening on the landscape. I don't care if you chose an image that's very simple, or if you chose something that's more complex. Sometimes the simpler the image, the more difficult the process, and we know that by experience. So don't be fooled because you got something that it's mostly all sky, one sun, and a little bit of horizon. That's probably going to be more complicated than something that looks quote unquote difficult. So I love the house. So I think I'm just gonna put my neighbor's house in here. And there's a head. Yes, a hedge. So I'm going back to Monet's painting, and I love that idea of capturing the industrialization of the time with factory chimneys, smoke, ships, and cranes. There's a lot of machinery going on. So conceptually, I wanted to bring also something very city-like. So not just the cypress trees and that's it. But the idea of the house, and especially the idea of this electric pole with the lines, I think that's pretty cool. So I'm just gonna bring that as well. It's not gonna be a big element, but I think that would be enough to give that sense, yeah, to give that sense of urban space. I think I'm okay. I'm gonna take a couple more minutes to thicken the trunk of the palm trees. I'm actually glad that I didn't use the photographic distortion. I'm actually very glad. So I wasn't sure. There's something also interesting about that, but I just feel that more and more I try to, even though I'm using a photograph, but I try to be as true to painting life as I can. And a good trick, an easy trick, is just to make everything vertical. This is the palm tree right here. So just the same as the painting, Monet's painting, there's a very specific characteristic about all these images. And it's the fact that the light, which is provided by the sun, comes from behind. So mostly all of the silhouettes of the shapes in front of the light are gonna have a darker component. So that's something that I can identify in all the images that I downloaded. By the way, I took them all from Instagram and some of them from the LA Times yesterday. They just posted the LA magazine, Los Angeles magazine, I'm sorry. They posted images of people taking photos of the sky. But that's a very important piece of information in our paintings. The source of light comes from the sun, and it's directly behind all of the objects in the landscape. And what does that mean? It means that what we see of the objects is the shadow part, not the part that it's lit by the sun. We can also add another layer of the specific information, because most of those images are about sunrise or even sunset. And because of the haze, there is no light bouncing around. So if you noticed yesterday and 2 days ago, 3 days ago, everything was pretty dark outside compared to a normal day. So because of the haze of the smoke caused by the smoke, there's not much light reflection bouncing on a white car and then creating luminance on another object. It's everything that it's on the shadow, it's pretty flat. So consider that as well when you start painting, because there's not going to be as much of an aspect of cylindric illusion or texture. It's going to be pretty like a Japanese shadow boxes. I think it's Japanese shadow boxes, or I hope it's Japanese shadow boxes. But Jen, I stand to be corrected. So.
Okay, let me look.
I think I should just say shadow boxes. Let's put it this way. All right, so I'm just going to darken this sides. I just feel like it helps a lot. if anyone's watching us from the future or watching this from the future, bold, fast strokes. I'm not concerned or worried about small details. All I want is, first of all, create an arrangement that I can stand behind. I'm not even have to be happy with it. And then second of all, just analyze the value scale. What's darker, what's lighter. This is driving me a little bit nuts because it's right next to my face. So I'm just gonna move it a little bit sideways.
Okay, I've seen Japanese shadow box, Asian shadow box, and just shadow box. So maybe you're correct in all.
Okay, perfect. So I'm glad because sometimes I screw up. Okay, sorry about this movement, but okay, I think that's good. Hopefully that's good. Yeah. All right, yeah, so I think that's okay. So I was reading more about the painting and Monet and all that stuff. And there's a theory that says that Monet titled the painting Impression Sunrise because he was terrified that the art critics at the time wouldn't understand that this was not an unfinished painting. So in order for everyone, he thought, what I'm going to do, I'm going to actually put the word impression on the title. So anyone out there who sees it understands that this was intentional, that this is not an unfinished painting, and this is exactly what I wanted. So I don't know how they came up with that theory, but I think it sounds pretty feasible. So it didn't work because people, the art critics at the time, you know, they had a field day, just telling, especially with his painting, that this was an abomination in the fact and the way it was painted and how it wasn't finished and yada yada yada. So his strategy didn't work. It's a pretty revolutionary painting, if you ask me. 1872. I look at it today and I still feel it's very advanced or revolutionary in the way it was painted. And I want to talk, let's kind of like go through the wash, and then I just want to read a couple of things that I hope will help us focus our attention in what's really important about the landscape. I'm fine with the sketch, and I'm okay. One palm tree is cropped. I think that's fine. Is that fine? Yeah, I think that's fine, right? Yeah. And then the other one, it's really close. I think that's okay. You know how much attention I put about things being too much on the bleed of the paper, on the edge of the paper, and how that could be a problem because it can become an interruption. So that's why now I'm just kind of like hesitating. I think that's okay. I'm just gonna stand behind it, and as long as you stand behind your decision, then no one can argue against it. And then this one, I think that's fine. I think that's fine. So I'll just bring the big brush. And my first application would be, this is very simple and clear. I think I'm going to use gray for my wash. So yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do. Okay, so I'm just going to explain that I'm using two liquids. I'm painting with oil, obviously. I'm using two liquids. One liquid is the solvent, which is a mineral spirit. And the other liquid, it's a combination of a medium and an oil. You don't have to go berserk, I think that's the word, in regards of what you have and what you should have. You could paint with just the solvent. You could even paint just with oil if you have linseed oil. You don't have to have any formula. This is not like a competition to find out what's the best combination of liquids. For years, I thought it was a competition. So I made it a mission to find out exactly what was the best formula. And then I realized that I wasted my time because every artist, I didn't waste my time, but I realized that every artist uses a different kind of formula, and that's fine. There's not a better formula out there that we should follow. So yeah, I like to put a little bit of poppy seed oil. I like to use medium, a synthetic medium. I use the solvent-free fluid from Gamblin. It has a nice consistency, and the medium or the oil, which are two different things, but both are meant to extend the fluidity of the brushstroke and help you blend. Yeah, mostly it's about like facilitate a more fluid stroke rather than just using the paste out of the tube. This stage is called staining technically, and what it consists of is using turpentine mostly and a little bit of color, a little bit of paint in order to do two things. This is the function of this stage. We need to seal the paper and actually I would say seal the charcoal and stain the paper, I guess. Yeah, so we need to cover the pores so we know that the painting surface is wet, so it can also add to that facilitation of the brushstroke. We prime the paper, or the surface, covering the pores, creating a wet surface. So the brushstroke, it's much more fluid when we apply it on top. And then also we seal the charcoal as well, so it doesn't move around. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a single color gray, and I'm going to try to do darker to lighter. It's a way to reinforce an order of application of paint rather than going by location. Let's say I'm just going to do the palm tree and finish it. I will not be efficient with my time if I work by location. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go darker to lighter. I anticipate that this has only two values, all the objects and the background. So it shouldn't be too complicated in the sense that, let me see how that works. More, yeah, I think that's good. So more turpentine, less paint. I'm using the big brush because I want coverage. And what I'm doing right now, I am just blocking out. So my strokes are completely reckless and untidy and chaotic and bold. And I'm not trying to define edges right now. I'm just blocking out. Blocking out using this watercolor-like consistency. Obviously, it's not watercolor because I'm using mineral-based liquids, but the consistency is very watercolor-like, transparent, thin in consistency, barely any paint on it, and I let the charcoal guide me in applying the strokes. So I'm not gonna add, if you feel like that's not dark enough, I would just maybe add some Payne's gray. But I'm just gonna keep it, I'm gonna keep it this gray. Yeah, I'm not gonna do anything on the sky. So the house is just gonna get lost a little bit, but that's okay. And the palm trees are gonna look like lollipops. But as I said, the function of this is to prime the paper and seal the charcoal. So turpentine. And why am I using gray? Just because I have in mind Monet's painting. I want to study variations within that gray spectrum. So it's not only about Monet and his painting. This is mostly about the smoky skies. So that's another reason why I'm using gray, because I don't want anything too dark. I want to exaggerate, dramatize that idea of a smoky, hazy sky. So I feel like gray can work for that. And then for the background, if you want something lighter at this stage, it is recommended not to use any white paint, because with oil it's very difficult, or you will encounter problems if you want to darken something that has white pigment underneath. So if you want to make something much lighter, what you do is, I don't know what happened, but my cup had already some of the particles from the Roofless in Colloquium demonstration, and it's already bluish. I promise I didn't intend to do this, but it's good. So yeah, I'm just applying this in the background. So this may look like a simple assignment, and but I'm raising the difficulty level, because the color, it's not going to be the same color as the photograph. And what I'm doing is a color interpretation. So if there's anything that represents, oops, I just picked up some brown. If there's anything that represents challenge here, it is in interpreting a color that we may want to use for. And here's the question: in all the articles that I read, because all the articles are written, I feel they're written by people who are not painters. So I'm gonna throw a question out there. I haven't read it. Did Monet really have that color palette when he saw the scene? He painted this from a hotel room through a window. Did he really, really have those colors? I doubt it. I'm gonna tell you like it is, in my painter's opinion. I highly doubt that he had those colors out there. So there must have been, yeah, sunrise. Sometimes, you know, the sun is absolutely burning orange. So I don't doubt that. But then this cool bluish, foggy palette, I don't know. I think there was a certain level of color interpretation, and also thinking about how he painted later in his life, you know, the cathedral paintings, that they're so colorful, and then the water lilies. So there is a certain level of color interpretation, no doubt. In my opinion, as a painter. Have I seen this being answered anywhere in the articles that I've read so far? No, I haven't. They just talk about his life and stuff like that. Okay, so this is my wash. I'm really excited. This is my wash. So notice a couple of things. Even though things go away when you wash them, things meaning the charcoal goes away. So I don't know if you can appreciate it, but the line of the sun, I put a lot of liquid on top of it, and the liquid hasn't been able to wipe off the lines entirely. So yes, we'll lose definition, but the charcoal remains. The core of the charcoal remains. So it's never an issue to for me to lose definition, because I know that the lines will remain there. So all right, so I'm going to pause. I'm very happy already about what this looks like. It's very James Whistler, like, who was the most famous tonalist at the time. And then I think he was contemporary of the Impressionists, but he did something completely different. I love his paintings of the Thames in London, which are all gray. But let me just read a couple of things about the painting. I mentioned them in the inspiration video, but I think they're going to be very important in order to consider how we're going to paint this. Or at least I want to articulate them or read them so you may have some tools, some extra tools, and decide if you want to do that or not. And I am just going to find, I'm not going to spend too much time. See if I can find the article. Yeah, this is on Wikipedia. There is an article about this painting exclusively, not just not about Monet. There's a different one, but there's a whole page talking about this painting. Of course, my browser is taking forever, but I'm just gonna wait, and then I'll just, in the meantime, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do one thing. I'm gonna share again the screen with the painting, because I really want to analyze what's going on. So first question, for me, I'm asking myself questions. Is there any black in this painting? I can answer you right now. I don't think so. I'm just gonna zoom in if I can. I cannot, oops, yes, I can. There's one stroke. It doesn't look like it's black. This could perfectly be, it's not black. So to the answer, to the question, is there any black in this painting? The answer is a resounding no, because I can see that the color of this painting is a Prussian blue that hasn't been diluted. So I think that's important, because I'm gonna try to be really careful about using pure black on this painting. Am I gonna use black to darken things or make things gray and muddy? Probably yes, but nothing that's gonna stand out. And the reason for me is that if I use too much black or darkness, I'm gonna create a very graphic effect that I feel it would do the opposite of elevating the work. It would just make it look too much of an exercise that I've seen a lot. So I want things to be hazy, and that means that my darkest areas will not be black. They will be muddy. So this is Prussian blue. So I know that color is going to play out a lot. So I think I'm going to start using Prussian blue right off the bat. And one interesting component that I don't have, because I don't have water, so I'm not going to do any reflection of the sun. But one interesting, and I want you guys to, if you are at all looking at the video or not, but I want you to take a look at the salmon color on the sky. So the orange, by the way, it is orange. So I'm just going to hold off the red for now, because I just don't want to go overboard. I want to decide this later. But he did use the same color of the sun on the sky. So I anticipate that on my painting, I will not use any orange on any of the foliage or any of the area that's defined by botanical elements, because there's no water and there's no reflection of that sun. But I will use versions of that orange on the sky. So I think hopefully that gives you a sense of, a sense of direction. Sorry, I lost the photograph. One more second, and I'll just bring it back. I also noticed that that's going to be a little bit later, but I noticed that there is a wonderful rhythmic wave of blues that goes from this aqua green on the bottom right of the painting this violet color that it's around the sun. It's very, very much violet or lavender. And then there's more of a Prussian blue version on the left side. So the grays are pretty much cold, and they have sort of like a rhythm that changes from one temperature to the next. So I'm going to try to incorporate this interpretation of color on my painting. And there's another component that I really love, and it's the fact that there's barely any definition on the objects that are on a visual plane further away from the boats. I think it's radical. I think it's powerful. And I'm just gonna try to play with the leaves of the trees and the palm trees especially, to dissolve edges as much as possible. It will require for me to make an interpretation, because on the photograph, everything is pretty sharp. So I'm gonna challenge myself to see if that could happen on the painting and how that's gonna play out. I'm not going to pretend that I can replicate the style, because it's impossible to replicate someone else's style. It's literally impossible. So this is not the idea, but I do love the fact that I can analyze from a painter's point of view what's going on in the painting, and then make my own color interpretation. Yes, on mine. And what I wanted to do is to, on the Wikipedia page, there's a paragraph, it says style. And let me see, the loose brushstrokes meant to suggest the scene rather than to mimetically represent it, demonstrate the emergent impressionist movement. And where was the, let me see if I can find it. That wonderful expression. Yeah. Sky and water, this is just brilliant on the painting. And I just put the painting, I'm sharing the painting, I hope you see it. But sky and water in the painting are hardly distinguishable. Let me just take a look at the painting, and that's true. There's no horizon line. There's a barely visible horizon line, definitely on the right. That's just a smudge. So sky and water, that's the brilliance. And the amazing thing about this work, that there's no fragmentation, there's no segregation between sky and water. The boundaries between objects are not obvious. Another important analysis that I'm going to try to incorporate on my painting. Of course, I don't have water and sky, so I cannot make that combination, but I can blur the boundaries between objects and the space surrounding them. So I will try to incorporate that. And then the expression that I love the most, the paint becomes the place. I feel I want to make a notation about that, because it's a very good way to explain that the function of paint doesn't necessarily have to be to distinguish shapes on the canvas. The paint itself is the place. The paint itself is the object on the painting, not the shape that we painted with. And that's the perfect definition, or the perfect explanation to define the differences between coloring and painting. In coloring, the paint becomes, I don't know how to do the opposite of that. In painting, the paint becomes the place. In coloring, the place becomes the painting. Yeah, I think so. Yes, the place becomes the painting, meaning, coloring the shapes is what makes the painting, but not when we paint. So I think I better stop and just continue working. And that's it. I just wanted to mention that in that sense, I'm going to try to make the boundaries blurred. I'm going to try to create openness on the edges. And let me just like stop here and then go to my painting. All right, so I'm going to bring a medium brush. A medium old brush because I don't want to create definition. And I'm going to start studying the palette. And so this is the brush that I'm going to use, not too big. I will just get some, the first thing that you should know about Phthalo, if you have it, it's that it's really dark and it takes over any mixture of paint rapidly. So I am going to use a little bit of the Prussian blue and gray, and it just creates an exquisite color, exquisite color. Okay, I think that's good. So I'm using Prussian blue and gray. You could use any blue you may have. And I'm starting to paint the darker areas on my painting. I want to explore what happens if I bring a little bit of brown on the blue. I think that's good. It just creates a darker version of the color. All right, so, and by the way, I'm using the medium right now, so not the turpentine. And I'm blocking out. These are first notes. And what are first notes? First notes is the first semi-opaque layer on top of the wash that defines the edges. It's all about blocking out. Also, because I'm using a little bit of medium, this is good. Yeah, so I'm happy about, this was a major decision. I wasn't sure this was gonna play out well, but I think it is playing out beautifully. And it's a color interpretation. It's a color interpretation. I think gray is turning out to be a great neutral for this, because browns could be too warm. Let's also analyze the breakdown of temperatures on the painting, but because I think it's going to help. Otherwise, we're going to start using warms on the botanical elements and colds on the background. I'm not ready for that yet. I'm going to make sure, I'm going to try to make sure that everything that's botanical on my composition remains cold. And cold means that I can go from icy blue all the way to this lavender tone, which has a little bit of red in it. So the definition of cold, it's not a single temperature. There's a spectrum right there. But I want to try to create or paint this area, the area of the objects, with cold notes inspired by what I hope I was able to explain on Monet's painting. So the medium brush and the gray. I'm gonna also experiment right now. So I'll use Payne's Gray, which is a dark blue. And I'm using Payne's Gray and Prussian blue. Yeah, and that's a good combination. It's an excellent combination, actually. Payne's Gray and Prussian blue, good choice. And I will just try to block out the palm tree with the strokes, with chunky strokes. I'm not worried about the leaves or anything like that for now. And I'm gonna go to the other palm tree right here. Yeah, I think that's good. First note, so blocking out.
And Julio, when you were reading to us, was that just from Wikipedia?
Yeah, that was the article of the actual painting.
Great.
And it was on the luminance section.
Perfect.
All right, so yeah, I'm just continuing. I'm gonna explore, and that's the uh, good part about this assignment, the study. In order to study a color, we need to experiment. There's no study without as experimentation. So this is brand new to me. I'm just exploring on this week. We went over Prussian blue and what kind of tints we created with the color. But this is brand new in the sense that I'm now exploring Prussian blue combined with other neutrals and see what I can get. So um, I'm really excited about that. So I find that there are distinctions between the botanical elements. So I'm gonna see if I can bring some yellow ochre to the blue in order to create a very, oh yeah, that's really nice. A different kind of, and maybe some gray because it's too saturated. All right, so yeah, I'm just bringing some different colors to the Prussian blue to create variations. And I think it's working. So I painted some of the um, elements that are closer to me, and now I'm gonna make another color interpretation. Because it's a phone picture, everything that's dark on the phone pretty much is the same color. It's really hard for the phone to capture temperatures on shadows. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make a mental note about how objects in the painting were painted in a very faded blue to make them look like further away. And even though on the photograph, everything is the same darkness, what I'm gonna do with the banana tree and this other tree and the palm tree, I'm gonna create a much lighter version of the blue because I want them to be more faded. So how am I gonna do that? With more gray. And then, yeah, that's it. More gray. I want to see if that can work. So I'm completely changing the rules right here. And making the color much lighter just because I feel I'm trying to use whatever information I'm extracting from the painting. I think that's actually working really well right now. I'm completely experimenting. I haven't done this before, and I'm liking it. It's a good experience. I don't know what this painting will look like in the end, but I really like the fact that I'm applying the principles that I see on the painting on my own. Actually, and I can't see the street, so maybe I'll just do something on the street. I can see a little bit of the street. I may just paint it. There's an agave here. All right. And then the house, there's the house, the neighbor's house. Maybe I'll just use a little bit more gray. Let me see if I can bring, yeah, I'm bringing a little bit of pink because I want to start creating that lavender note for the house. Just a little bit of a difference here. I think that's okay. So it's just going to be a mass, but I'm slowly trying to diversify my temperature within the coal range. Yeah. Good, this is fun. All right, so let's, yeah. This is such an experiment that I feel like I have no time to go on tangents, and I desperately want to because I have a couple of bits of gossip about, no, it's not really gossip about Monet, but something that happened in his life. Maybe I'll just go now. And then the street, on the street, I'm just gonna use gray. I think that's good. So I feel right now, I feel like I could just spend time on this section alone. I could spend time bringing highs and lows and creating more depth on the palm trees and the banana leaves. I feel confident enough to move forward with this area, but I'm not going to because now I need to support what I've done with the sky. I just want to make sure that I don't get too deep into this. I want to find a path for the sky, and then I could relax a tiny bit and create more variations of the blues and greens, maybe fade it a little bit more, work on the edges. This feels very, very much, especially the palm trees. They're not shredded enough, so they don't feel very well integrated. But I'm not there because right now I need to find out. Let me just go back to the painting. I'll go back and forth quite a lot because I need to find out exactly what kind of direction I'm going to take. So obviously on the painting, I'm sorry. On the photograph, I can see that there's a change in the light. It's warmer. There is almost like a pale orange on the sky. And we notice this because light yesterday was awful. I mean, today is much better than yesterday. And hopefully the temperature is dropping and the fires are gonna stop. It seems that Northern California, it's already better. Anyhow, yesterday was an apocalyptic. Jen, I'm so happy you were not here because it was freaky.
Yeah.
There.
I feel terrible for you guys. It just looks awful.
It was really bad. Yesterday was the worst. But anyhow, so there was this sort of like orange glow. So I can see it in the sky. And so what I'm gonna try to do, because I love the salmon and the pink, I'm gonna try to make a color interpretation and not stick too much to my photograph. Because in the photograph, it's more of a bread type of color, orange, a little bit tarnished color. There's a little bit of coolness, but I love the salmon and the lavender on Monet's painting. So I think what I'll do is I'm gonna go ahead and mix the two light neutrals, the pink and the light blue. And let me just see if that, I think so. All right, so I'm going for it. I'm gonna go for it. So what I'm doing, oh yes. So what I'm doing is I'm just mixing the pink and the light blue. to create more of a lavender note for now, rather than just stick with the pale orange, at least as a base. Yeah, I think this could work out. Yeah, I think this could work out. This experiment could just be successful, or it could be a disaster. Don't hold the results against me, you guys. I think it's gonna be amazing. But yeah, it's an experiment. What I'm doing that's different here is I'm studying color by reinterpreting it. So I just want to express that this is not just the typical, okay, I have a photo and I'm going to try to match things. Not at all. This is about color studies, color study. This may change. I'm using a medium brush rather than a big one because I love the hatching and the zigzagging on the painting. So I feel like with a medium brush, I can get more of a texturized idea of the sky. This painting in certain parts, it has barely any paint, barely. I'm just gonna bring some gray as well on the sky. So rather than bringing orange, because I wanna, ooh, that's possibly too black. Too dark, I'm sorry. Maybe not a good idea. So yeah, one of the things that I wanted to share with you guys, there was an episode in the life of France at the time that really shook the entire country. It was called the Dreyfus Affair. And even though it didn't involve painters at the beginning, the whole country split in two in regards of what the affair represented. And I find it very interesting because one of the things that is always in the back of my mind, especially with the guys in art history, is the fact that I don't think there were saints. So sometimes it's very hard to separate the person from the work, for me, you know, especially if what they did during their lifetimes was really atrocious. So I always kind of like check and see if there was something shady in their lives that's completely inexcusable, because at least for me, it makes a difference. But luckily, Monet is fine. So we can like Monet. And I'll explain why, because of the Dreyfus. I think it's a Dreyfus affair. So I talked during the video, the inspiration video, about the Franco-Prussian War between France and basically Germany. And it's a war that France lost. I think Napoleon III was in power then. So there was a declaration of a republic after that. So there were a lot of changes. But during the time, the tension in society was very high. There was a lot of blame going around when France lost, a lot of blame. And what happened was that there was a member of the military, of the French military at the time, that for whatever reason, he became the scapegoat for the resurgence of anti-Semitism in the country. So he was Jewish, and people just decided to label him as a traitor, and they thought that he passed secrets to the Germans, to the Prussians. So they, yeah, there was a massive wave of anti-Semitism in the country. And at the same time, half of the country, mostly because there are a lot of Jewish people in France, they did not believe the story. They thought that he was wrongly accused. By the way, he was put in jail and he was sent to an island, I think in the Caribbean, one of the colonies of France. So, and they thought this was BS, and it was just cooked up to make people feel okay blaming someone. They couldn't just say that it was because France was a disaster, the government. They just had to blame a Jewish person, and by extension, the Jewish community. So it was so deep, the chasm in society was so deep that people took a stand pro Dreyfus or against it. So this also affected the artist community. And there were some painters that were against Dreyfus. They were very anti-Semitic. And there were some that they just came out in support of this soldier. So the ones that came in support, Émile Zola, who was a writer, wrote an entire piece in favor of Dreyfus. And people were so upset that he had to go on exile because otherwise they wanted to put him in jail. So Émile Zola was a very influential figure in the arts in France at the time. Monet immediately jumped in support of Dreyfus as well. So, and the reason why, it's because Monet's best friend was Camille Pissarro, which we talked about. He was Jewish. He was born in St. Thomas, but he was Jewish. And when he went to France, Monet and Pissarro had a very close friendship, I'm sorry. So yeah, anyhow, I just wanted to say that because if you want to research more, check out the Dreyfus Affair. One of the painters that was bitterly or anti-Semitic to the bitter end was Renoir. Renoir was not on the same side. Renoir blamed Dreyfus, and by extension, he hated Jewish people until the last day he was on earth. So I love his paintings. Degas was another guy who was on the anti-Semitic boat. Not all of them were like that, but there were two that were remarkably anti-Semitic, Degas and Renoir. And of course, this may not be important because their paintings are wonderful and I love the work, but I think it's an important story to tell. And just because, for me at least, it's important. And it's important to know that Monet wasn't on that boat. Anyhow, so it's not really gossip, but it's something that I like reading. Monet was more like a left-wing kind of person. Renoir was a total right-wing Nazi, basically. Nazism wasn't there yet, but oops, sorry guys. But it was very much conservative right-wing. And that is not okay. Anyhow, so yeah, I'm okay with that application of color. So I think this is okay. I'll probably lighten up the top a little bit more. And I'm thinking right now, I'm thinking of bringing some white already. And what I'll do, yes. So I brought white, I brought ecru, and I brought orange, cadmium orange. And I'm gonna start to apply some variations on that pink, on the lavender, using the orange notes. So in other words, I created a flat area of color made out of like light blue and pink because I wanted to give this kind of like temperature. But right now what I'm doing is I'm creating variations within that color. If you notice in the photograph, there's more of a halo of orange rustiness around the sun. So I don't want this to be two-dimensional, which is what it looks like right now. All blues on the foliage and lavenders on the background. It just looks too immature, if you ask me. But it's not about the look of it's the base. And what I'm doing right now, it's just creating variations. I'm probably going to create more of a light blue area right on top. I want to work on dimension on the open space because I think that's the key of this painting. So it's 12, almost like 12:20, and we only have like so much time left, but I consider this to be the foundation of the painting. And right now I'm going to dedicate the rest of the time to create variations within the sky and variations within the foliage. So I have different bullet points that I want to tackle, and I'm going to try to articulate some. I feel I want to work on the look of the palm trees. I feel like they're too dark and they're also too graphic. So this needs to be shredded. It just needs to be toned down a little bit. It's too much. So that's number one. I'm okay with what's going on with the cypress trees and the background. As far as I'm concerned, I don't need to paint houses or create definition. So this would not be a priority. But after those two elements on the palm tree, I'll probably create more variations on the background. And my final touch, I'm gonna do it right now, but I'm gonna do another layer. My final touch will be to just bring a bright orange on the sun. I wanna change the color of the sun. So I will bring, wow, this looks already, bam! I'm gonna put more orange, but I know I'm not gonna put red. I'm not gonna use red, so I give myself some brownie points for not putting red paint on the palette. I'm not gonna need it. I think that's gonna be enough. So I can breathe right now. I think this was successful and it's only gonna get better. So I'm just gonna tackle, as I said, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna tackle the palm trees. I'm gonna give myself maybe 10 minutes until 12:30. And then the last half an hour, I'm gonna see how far I can go with variations of the sky. I noticed that the sky on my painting, it's taking more than, I would say, 75% of the space. So I feel like I want this to be the object of my painting, the sky and then the sun. So let's go for it. Jen, did you by any chance, I didn't ask you, find anything about, was it the Dreyfus affair?
Yes, I already included it in the notes, but yes, Dreyfus Affair.
Yeah.
And for all you actors listening, Sarah Bernhardt was also on this. I was going to say the correct side, but I stand by that. Yeah, the correct side of things.
Wow. Okay, good.
So that's exciting. Yeah, the people in support of Dreyfus, Sarah Bernhardt, Anatole France, I guess that's how you say it, Henri Poincaré, oh gosh, and Georges Clemenceau.
And by the way, he was acquitted at the end. He was.
Yes.
So let's just make sure that, you know, this was not just a closed or an open case. He was acquitted in the end. So
yeah, he was reinstated as a major, and then he served all of World War I, ending his service with the rank of lieutenant colonel. So
wow.
that's higher than a major.
Is there any movie about this? Because I feel like this is a fascinating story for a movie. So I wonder if there's anything that was done.
Say yes. Okay, there was a film series.
What? Say that again?
A film series, the Dreyfus Affair film series, a 1899 series of short silent docudramas.
Mm-hmm.
Let me look that up. Yeah, it's 11 short silent films.
Wow.
Yeah, I'll include that as well.
Okay.
I don't know, finding them might be a little difficult, but wow.
And how there's so much emphasis on being on the right side of history these days, that I feel this was significant in many ways. It was significant in many ways. Of course, for me, as the instructor, I think it was significant in the sense that revealing the behind the scenes narrative and making sure that, the person I'm talking about all the time wasn't a complete asshole, obviously. But there's also a sense of historic sense in the fact that there was a crisis, and at the time, some people just stood by a certain belief, and I just feel like we're constantly tested in regards of like where we stand, and sometimes may not be easy because we see things through filters, but I think it was remarkable that at the time there were some people that saw through the bullshit. Let me just say that, and then took the right stance. Um, it must have not been very easy because I don't know. Yeah, I just think there's a lesson there also. Many lessons, obviously, but for me, there's a lesson there. How important it is to do the research, study, listen, and read, and then um, just make a decision or not make a decision. I don't know. Just feel like we're constantly tested, um, and it reveals what kind of character we are built on or we're built with when we take a stance historically in any issue. So yeah, I have a great respect for Emile Zola. I love Emile Zola already for many things, but I thought he was very brave. I think the manuscript that he wrote in regard to the Dreyfus affair is a famous it is a famous text. Um, but it took some courage at the time for him to do that. All right, so I'm already liking this shredding of the palm tree, so it doesn't look as amateurish. I hate this word, but yeah, I just poked some holes through it. I also, what else am I gonna do? I am gonna bring some lighter Prussian blue and lift the colors inside so it doesn't feel too and at the same time, I gave myself 10 minutes, so I have 5 more. But I'm gonna start using the small brush because what I wanna do is I just wanna bring some tiny strokes piercing through or shredding. Yeah, and at the same time as well, what I'll do is I'll just bring more of that color um, right next to the trunk. I wanna create a trunk that's a little bit more defined. Maybe I'll just leave the palm tree like that and not bring the foliage. And what I'll try to do, let me just see if that can work or not. I'm gonna wrap my finger with the rat because I feel, I want to incorporate that aspect of unobstructed lines So what I'm doing is I'm just rubbing. I think that is not a bad idea. Rubbing the paint in certain areas, not everywhere, but in certain areas. So it just creates more of a fuzzy effect. I want to break up that linear aspect so much. Look at the difference between this palm tree right here and this one. I just brought some white so you can see there's more of a fluffiness on the sky. I smudge certain parts of the, I feel like it's still too strong. The Prussian blue is still very strong. Let's just go back to this one right there, this other palm tree I meant, and see if I can create something similar in that sense. Yeah, I think that's helping. So just breaking it up a little bit and then bringing some lightness inside. I just feel like that's still too dark. So hopefully now that you're deep into the process, you realize, I mean, I'm being pretentious here or snob, how challenging this can be in its simplicity. In order to achieve a look, especially when we are reinterpreting the color palette completely. This is just almost like painting it from imagination, almost. We have like a core base, obviously, but there's a sense of I find there's a distinction between a painting that I feel it's very commercial and a painting that shows a certain level of brilliance. So I feel like there's a sense of redundancy in paintings where they use certain tricks to create effects, and they repeat the tricks so much that it cheapens the painting. So there is a distinction between a painting that feels very commercial, it feels very redundant, very decorative, or using ornated elements, repetition, and then something that has more of a sophisticated and elevated um, look. So for me, it's to incorporate variety. Yeah, so to incorporate variety and not to use the tricks that look, you know, they're just trying to achieve an effect. Yeah, I think that's okay. So certainly this kind of like improved, I feel. Just gonna bring more of that. Same thing that I applied on the other side. And then at the same time, I'll just bring, I'll try to break this a little bit. Yeah, so it doesn't feel too graphic, I'm just messing it up a tad. So it just feels, yeah, I think that's okay. I think that's okay, not too bad. I'm just gonna leave the palm trees the way they are, and then I feel I want to take care of uh, the cypress trees. So there's something about the light through the edges of the cypress trees that I really like. So I'm gonna try to shred or dissolve. I think that's possibly the best word. To dissolve the cypress trees so they don't feel like poles or cones. And I also feel like, you know, I possibly added too much darkness of the blue. Just, yeah, it's too much of that blue. And I feel like on the brilliance of the painting is that it's really faded except for one boat. Except for one boat. So I may just try to lower the intensity of that blue. If anything, from the exploration and experimentation, I realized that this Prussian blue, it's really strong and I have to be extra careful. All right, so I'm bringing orange and ecru. Orange and ecru, and I want to lift that upper area. So yeah, perfect. So 12:30, so that means I have half an hour. And what I'm gonna do with this half an hour, I feel I wanna spend a lot of time working on the sky and see if I can create harmonious, rhythmic, nice variations on that flatness that come up with more luminosity on the upper area. I feel like almost, I need to find out what kind of color, but I'm not copying color, I'm not matching, that's the thing. So maybe salmon. Yeah, very light salmon up there. So let's see, let's see. I'm gonna bring orange and I'm not gonna use yellow, maybe a tad of the yellow ochre. Oh yeah, 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 yeah. Yellow ochre, orange, and lots of white. Yeah, absolutely. This is it's a good color. So really pale on top. And following this zigzag, messy brush stroke. I think that's okay. Yeah, I think that's okay. Just bringing more intense orange in certain parts. Yeah, I'll just continue working on these variations. I think that's going to be really crucial in regards of like elevating this work so it doesn't feel too much like a color exercise. I think that's the challenge. Yeah, let's just, I'm gonna continue with that, with this process, creating variations. And something really important that we can do is to bring color to the edges. So it feels that the color field, it's interrupted, but it continues beyond the point. So that's what I'm doing right now. Just this orange glow that comes from the sun, it spills outside and it goes down a little bit. Yeah, I'll bring some gray and white because I feel like it's too, I need to bring some grays right now. some cool grays on the sky. I mentioned that there was no distinction on the painting between water and sky. And the way he did that was by using similar colors on both areas and also diffusing um, any horizon line or distinction. I feel I want to give something a try. Just bring some of the Prussian blue on the sky, especially on this area. And maybe sort of like dissolve the separation between the foliage and the sky. Yeah, I think so. It just brought some brushstrokes, some messy brushstrokes, really close to the edge. So I want to fade a tad that separation. I think this could be a good, whoops. The one thing that it's clear also, I just added some white, but I'm just going to bring the painting. I said at the beginning, does this painting have any black in it? And I said no. The only thing that has is the Prussian blue already there. But the second question that I'm going to ask that I haven't seen, does this painting have any white in it? And I think the answer is mostly no. And the only white I see, oops, sorry, is on the orange reflection on the water. If you can, I just put it on the screen. So there is a little bit of white there. There's a little bit of white there. Now, is there white anywhere else? I don't think so. Even on the sun, there's a little bit of white on the sun. Yes, there is a little bit of white, but mixed in. There's not much whiteout effect on this painting. It's pretty much all muddy combination. Is there white on this area right here on the corner? I think this is mostly, yeah, there's a little bit of white. He mixed some of the green, some of the Prussian blue with maybe yellow ochre or yellow, and then a little bit of white there. So this color feels very pale green almost. But you don't see any pastel notes necessarily, except for the strokes on the water. There's not much chalky pastel notes. Everything is very much tonal. So I said this because I added some white on the edge and I feel like it's too pastel-like. And I just don't, yeah, I just don't think that's what I want. So I'm just gonna bring some of that blue. Yeah, I think that's good. And I also feel like I want to paint around the edges in a way that's a little messier because I wiped the areas so much that it creates almost like a hard edge. All right, let's just go back to orange. Whoa, 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 whoa. It's a lot of orange. Whoa, 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 whoa. Orange and ecru. Maybe that could work as an alternative to white. Kind of like fading it. Yeah, it's not too bad. Yeah, it's not too bad. Okay, let me see if I can bring some gray and orange and white. Let's see what it does. It's a wonderful color, gray, orange, and white. And I'm just gonna apply it on top of the painting. And perhaps around the sun, I'm just gonna create an orangier orange. Yeah, I feel like there's something about the halo. It doesn't have to be completely cut out or poking. So I'm just bringing, how's that? It's too much of a glow. So I'm just gonna fade or blend a tad. And I think this could be a good moment to, yeah, I think that's a good moment to bring much more orange. I'm not gonna use white on the sun. I'm gonna make it really orange. So very pasty, really thick. Okay, yeah, I think that's good. I think it's pretty dramatic in that sense. Yeah, I think it's very dramatic. Okay, good. So, not too bad, 15 minutes. I'm a little bit happier with the sky. I think I'm just gonna go on the foliage in the background and see if I can create something more pastel-like. I still feel like there's not enough contrast between the first plane, visual plane, and the background. Plus, I still have some empty spaces. So I'm gonna work on that. So I'll use, okay, yeah, that's not a bad combination. I'm using Prussian blue and the radium blue, the light blue. Yeah, I think that's a better combination. And what I'm doing is with this coal light tone, I'm just gonna add some nodes to bring more opacity to the painting, lighten it up a little bit. Because I feel like it's too dark on the photograph. And then on the house is barely visible, but that's okay. I feel I'm just gonna bring that light blue. Yeah, I think that's good. I like the light blue actually to define the objects. Yeah, I think that's better. I reinterpreted the shadows on the foliage by using much lighter blue. I just felt like the darkness was too much. It just didn't create an effect of pastel. I'm sorry, haziness. So I got inspired by the differences on the painting, or the lightness on the painting rather, and brought a much lighter color, radium blue with Prussian, and I'm loving it. Yeah, I think that's interesting. It's just getting a little more layered. It doesn't feel like too um, um, one-dimensional, if that word exists. One-dimensional, yeah. I'm gonna bring some um, light orange in between, because I think the poking through, the light just showing through could be really interesting. Yeah, I think that's good. And just like bringing some notes, you can even tell what this is, if this is foliage or not. But I just feel like that alone can help me um, peel a few more layers. Yeah, yeah, I'm liking it. I'm liking it. I think this is interesting. Okay, so I am gonna continue with this and time was, yeah, that's good. And see if I can create a little bit more contrast here. And then find out what I'm gonna do about the house. And for the house, I used lavender before. So I feel that could be a good idea. I'm just gonna bring some architectural elements on the house, some lines, maybe with a small brush. I need a tiny brush because I feel I want to draw something there. Yeah. So it reads like a more like a house. Bring some lines. I just need to do vertical and horizontal lines. I think that's going to be enough to inform a viewer that that's a home. Yeah, so just bringing separation of windows and see if I can bring some um, darker lavender with some Payne's gray and bring some shadows on the window. I'm using a very tiny brush and I'm mostly drawing some elements in this house right here. I think it's working. Doesn't have to make a lot of sense, but as long as there's sort of like vertical lines and some triangular elements on top, some shadows to create shade from the eaves of the home, that should be enough. And I'll just bring the Phthalo, I'm sorry, the Prussian blue and radiant blue and see if I can create the idea of separation between roof and foliage. Yeah, I think that's good. So I just made sort of like a construction area right here. It's very visible, but I think it just gives me the idea, or it just gives the idea that there's a building right there. And I think I explained at the beginning how interested I was in bringing some sort of like urban architecture to, in order to make sure that this uh, incorporated the industrialization aspect of the painting. And although I have a building, I don't think um, I don't think I have enough. So I'm gonna use the Prussian blue and see if I can bring the pole, electrical pole, and the wires, because I feel like it would be interesting to create that that aspect. Yeah, I think it's working. I think it's working. Everything is an exploration at this point. But I think this is not a bad idea. Yeah. Yeah, it's a little bit of an urban space. I feel like I need to define this dry patch because there's nothing there. Because I straightened all the things on the painting, it doesn't read like anything. So maybe I'll just bring some of that blue. um, the radium blue and Prussian blue mixed together. Yeah, I think that works. To bookend that part of the painting. Yeah, I think that works. I think that works. Yeah, I think that's working. So I feel like possibly this area doesn't feel very well defined. So I'm just gonna bookend it from this other side. There's still like some lightness. So let me bring this wonderful combination of radium blue and Prussian. If you don't have Prussian, you can use ultramarine with some green perhaps to create more of these aqua notes. Oh, I'm gonna bring some texture on top of the foliage of the tree. And then just bring the radiant blue. Yeah, so I just brought a little bit of texture on this part right here. I think it's nice. Maybe I'll just bring a deeper blue or a greener blue to define the street edge or the street edge, the separation between what's upright. Yeah, I think that's good. So there's a little bit more of a density of foliage down there across the street that creates an idea of where the foliage right here is anchored, where it grows from. Constantly reinterpreting the color. I'm just finding some information from the photograph that helps me, but look how different the color is on the painting or my painting, on my painting. And I feel like I'm gonna pair this with, oh my gosh, I have like 7 minutes almost. I'm gonna bring, oops, that's a lot of, it's a lot of white. But I feel like this side of the street could be lifted in value a tad. Yeah, I just brought like a little edge. I brought a little edge. I think that's okay. I think that's okay. I'm gonna bring some lighter notes. Let me see if I can. Yeah, on the cypress tree with a different lavender-like tone to create a sense of the cypress tree almost like wrapping a little bit. Yeah, I think that works. And that helps me lift up. Yeah, I'm just blending the darkness inside of the cypress tree because it was just too dark. I just didn't calibrate the darkness enough, and I just feel like it's way too dark. So using the small brush and bringing some of the orange from the outside in, which is still wet, it just helps me dilute that paint inside of the cypress tree, so it just becomes a little lighter. I just feel like it was too dark. With tiny strokes. Yeah, this feels like a little bit more different because I think I didn't have enough distinction between what this was, and then what the trunk of the palm trees was. They just feel like very similar in that sense. So I'm gonna bring some of the green out of the cypress tree, almost like floating, hovering outside of the cypress tree, in that intention of dissolving the edges that we read about. The painting becomes the place, which I love. Maybe just expanding it a little bit more, just taking the liberty here to make something a little bit different. Yeah, I think that's good. I think that's good. A little bit decorative, too much possibly on the edges, but I'm gonna keep it. I think that's good. So right now I feel like the canopies of the palm trees are a tad weaker compared to all the work that I did at the bottom. So, but that's gonna be for and the roughness. The roughness of the palm tree in some spots. Yeah, the quality of the trunk, it's not even. There are some areas that a little bit rougher. So I think it's something I could work on. I think it's something I could work on later. So I'm so happy I lifted the values on the foliage on the background, because as you can see in the photograph, everything's pretty much the same. So it doesn't create any depth whatsoever. So I feel finding the lighter tones was key for this challenge or this study. I started too strong with the blues, and it just created an illusion too dramatic or too much contrast. I just needed to tone it down and let the blues really speak. I feel like those two are my next step. They're just way too dark. The way I see it, it's way too dark. If anything, this should be more faded. So I'm just gonna work for a couple of minutes. It's not that much, but I'm gonna do something extremely dramatic to show you that sometimes bold movements, bold decisions can pay off. I don't know if it's gonna pay off or not, but I just feel like this palm tree, it's too defined, too strong, too dark. I just feel like I need to blur it out. It's something that I'm gonna do, absolutely. It was just too decorative. Something that I'm gonna do on Wednesday, the studio time. But I think the top of the palm trees needs to be reconsidered. It was just too dark. It makes so much more sense now. It just feels like the clouds are going over the palm tree in a way. So I feel sometimes you gotta trust your instincts and not be afraid. If something doesn't feel okay, or if you feel like it's a little bit too, yeah, it's just definitely much more interesting. So this is, I'm gonna pause here, but just hopefully this whole process I feel like this was so different from whatever we've done before, in the sense that we invoked a different set of challenges that allowed us to explore and experiment new things. For me, this was an exploration of how the Prussian blue mixed with other colors, number one. It was also very helpful to try to break down whatever was happening on the painting in order to incorporate the premises, because just looking at the painting and copying is not going to give us any sort of like foundation to build our decisions on. We need to extract whatever piece of information in the form of a criteria we can out of the painting, and then incorporate it in our work and see what it does. So it was really helpful to break it down. Yeah, so I just find that this was a really enjoyable, productive, fruitful assignment in the sense of exploring color and reimagining or reinterpreting the color based on something different than the photograph. I'm happy about the painting, actually. I'm happy about the painting. Not to mention that conceptually, this is a very significant piece of work because it documents this horrible week that we are living through. So that it's not even mentioned on this painting. It's not just trying to do something pretty with soft colors and cold and warm, but truly documenting this horrifying time. So I'm gonna take, we're gonna take a break. We're gonna pause the video, 10 minutes. We'll reconvene at 1:13, and then please take pictures, upload. So it's not mandatory, but we encourage you to do so. I consider the work uploaded all in progress, all of our work. So we know how much it can develop when we dedicate more time. This is not gonna be criticism, it's just gonna be critique, which is different, and critiquing is different than criticizing, in my opinion. And over the weeks, we found out that sharing the work helps everybody. People get inspired, they get ideas, they realize that there are certain things that they want to work on. So yeah, don't be afraid, and to upload and share, and then so we can all help each other. All right, see you at 1:13. Hi everyone, and welcome back. I hope you had some time, although it just feels like nothing, some time to rehydrate yourselves, and then also let me just allow everyone, yeah, you can unmute yourselves, yeah. Right, yes, so yeah, so we're back. Thank you. I just checked some of the images and it looks so good. Congratulations. What an amazing, inspiring, beautiful work you've done. This was a really good assignment. We did it again. I don't know how we do it, but I'm going to share the screen. I don't think there are any questions, right, Jen? I just checked the chat and there were just a couple of comments.
Yeah, you are right on.
Okay, so let me just, I think that's it. Perfect, so that's the screen, and I just wanted to share a couple of things. Thanks, Jen, for the Henry Rousseau paintings, and we talked about the flatness of it and how he didn't follow any visual planes in the sense that we talked about, but yet the paintings are wonderful and yeah, so beautiful. Look at this work. There's a sense of like a haziness in the background, so there's some perspective here, but yeah, I just love the work. And let me see. This is, it's so funny because it's cropped. Laura, right? And oops, sorry, I just jumped. I think so. I don't know why the photos get, oh, wait a second. Are we, I don't think I'm sharing the right thing. What can you see, Jen, on your side?
We see, it looks cropped for us, but it looks small.
Right, yeah. So I'm just gonna share something else. Here we go. and see now if I can. Yeah, I think that's better, right?
Yes, perfect.
And this is Laura,
That's
right?
Laura.
Yeah. So
And she's on.
yes. So hi, Laura. This is amazing.
Julio.
It's so
Really?
beautiful. Yeah, I'm so pleased. It's just gorgeous. It's still you. It
Oh
has your style, but I compliment you for being so brave to use a totally new color palette on this. It looks exquisite. I think it's incredible, and I love the sky. I don't know. I just think it's a great painting. Was it challenging for you? Was it difficult to recreate the color?
Thank you, Julio. I actually loved the whole assignment. I really, really, because I love the impressionist. I love abstract, as you know,
Yeah.
because I'm not so free. That's my quest in, in my young, uh, you know, painting life. So this was an opportunity for me to be more free, and as best as I could, I feel I'm free. The only thing I felt was that it looked a little pastelly, the sky,
Mhm.
and the sun looked like an egg. So I went in and I frayed a little bit the edges, and I'll send another picture later to see what you
Okay.
think. But
Yeah,
what do you think
let's,
about that?
good
And
point. Let's
did you
analyze
write?
because, sorry.
Oh no, I was just gonna say one thing. You write about the Prussian blue. I actually used the Fasalo
Yeah,
blue. I don't have the Prussian, only in acrylic.
that's even stronger.
But it's definitely draw. Oh, it is. Okay. So, what do you think? I mean, do you think that I should tone down
No,
the blue, the Fasalo?
I think, you
Acrylic?
know, the painting looks exquisite and super interesting just because of the choice of colors. But what I would say, oh, I see, because yeah, because I thought you were gonna have more water. So I know that this was Echo Park Lake. I thought that was water, actually. So I was just gonna ask you to bring more of the reflection of the sun on the water, but it's not water. It's the
But you know
floating.
what? I could make it water, Julio, because it does look like water.
If you want to experiment, I would, because I feel like that's gonna pick up with the fountain, and then it's just gonna make the background be sort of like the banks of the lake, and then the water could have some reflection of the sun, some of that orange.
Okay, because actually, you know what it actually is? It is water underneath. It's just those little plants that are for the ducks or whatever.
Right.
Water plants, I don't know, water lilies.
Yeah.
That's what that is. So, okay.
I
Thank you.
would. Yeah, give it a try because it would be so interesting since you already have it. I think it would separate the background from the horizontal area because right now it just has the same color on both and it's fine. I just don't think that it matters, but I would just bring, um, I would make it more using more colors like the sky and then bringing some of the reflection of the sun on the water. And I think in order to uh, remove this idea of like a fried egg that you said that it doesn't have, but I know once we put our thoughts into something, it's hard to break that spell. I would expand that uh, aura. I would just make it a little bit bigger or blend it a little bit more.
I frayed it a little bit. Can you see, Julio?
Okay, yeah. Good. Yeah, I think that
Okay.
works. Yeah, I
Okay.
think that works.
Thank you, Julio. And just one more little thing. That was challenging to stay in within that palette because I so desperately wanted to use some green, just like on that area that were the water lilies. So we're staying away from green right? I mean, completely, right?
You
Even
know, just give it a, I mean, see how you feel about it. I feel like now the premise is really clean and direct. So I would experiment, bring like a little bit of green, but let it be blended with the blue and see what it gives you. So I think that could be actually really cool if you just want to give it a try. Yeah, 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 I think so. And I would say on the water, so I feel like there's a certain transparency. So I would just work a little bit more on this section. I know it's tiny, but I just feel like that doesn't read like the fountain, just because you don't see this frosty, almost like veil
mm,
on one side. Yeah, and it's darker. So don't forget the light comes from the other side. So I feel here it's lighter and it's very static. So it just
mm.
doesn't read. It reads like a boat, like the mast of a ship.
Oh, yeah,
So
it
I could
does.
see the bottom a little bit right here. And so I would work on that because I think that's iconic. You want to make sure that I think you want to make sure. But since it's Echo Park Lake and that's such an iconic fountain, so I would just work a little bit more on transparencies and things like that there.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here, Julio.
Yes, me too. It's
Yes,
gorgeous.
thank you, Julio. I also feel so happy because I feel like this is the time to connect with our tribe again. You know what I mean? Just because that's what's keeping us grounded and sane, and the weirdness of everything,
I
right? It's
know.
just weird, but this feels so good. This feels so good. Thank you, Julio.
We feel exactly the same way. So thanks, Laura. Awesome.
Thank you.
All right, so I'm just gonna, any questions, you just let me know, but I'm just gonna move to, I saw some amazing work, so I'm just gonna refresh and, oh, whoa, 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 it's so good. So Julie, I'm just gonna go to you. Look at this.
Uh, well, you know what? It's reading's very doppled and it's actually much more blended than that. I want to send another
Oops.
photo, I realized.
Sorry, something happened here and it just,
You
let me
hear
just
me?
bring it back again.
Okay.
Um,
It's funny, it doesn't read so, it reads much more red.
oh, it
And
reads red.
red,
You mean like the photo, it's not picking up the
yeah.
colors?
Yeah, because I mean, I do have the dark in there, but it's much more, it, it's taking it way too high contrast. So it's a much more blended image, the sky, than it
Right.
shows. And I
Wow.
don't know, I maybe have to set something different on my phone. But anyway, what do you think? What can I work on?
I think it's incredible. What stands out, obviously, it's the sun. I just love the fact that, that has the slightly yellow border. So I think what's dramatic with the suns that we've seen, it's the fact that the sun is darker than the halo, which is really scary. So I feel like you capture that very nicely. I would even go much more orange if you could in there. So I know it's like really tiny, but
Yeah.
um,
I did put some orange in, and I was going to try to do a little bit more when it dries.
okay, yeah, I think that's
Um,
that's what I'm gonna do also because I feel like there's a little bit of muddiness on the sun,
mhm.
and it almost feels like there's a crescent shape. I cannot expand it, yeah, but
In the sun, yeah.
yeah.
Because
So
I had a hot pink first, and then I put some orange on top, and it is a bit crescenty. I guess you're right.
yeah, so I would just make sure that it's just like the paper has a hole almost. I would make sure that that thing it's like super flat and same color.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, I just don't like how it's reading on this photograph at all because I'm afraid it's a little too pastel-y for what you
okay.
wanted us to do. But it is, this just went way too high contrast. But anyway,
The phones, our phones are not that great. When we take pictures, it's the shadows get picked up, they get much darker. So I totally understand. So regardless, I'm gonna read. I mean, the composition, I think it's incredible. I love the fact that
your photo, it's great, or wherever you found it.
oh
Sorry.
yeah, I mean, so but I love the fact that that's very low. The dirt or the earth, the ground, it's very very low, and this diagonal line, it just gives a sense of monumental, almost like haze.
Hmm.
It already makes it look like a plume of smoke going up in the atmosphere. So it's very dramatic, and the fact that the sun is like so tiny compared to the smoke, it just, I think it's just perfect. Compositionally, it's perfect. I love the colors in the sky. I think it's perfect. I know that you use some green, right, on the foliage.
You know what I did is I used sepia, and so I
Ooh,
had sepia, and then I
yeah.
ended up putting a little of yellow ochre on my palette, and it kind of got mixed in. So I didn't use any blues at all on my palette.
I
But
think
yeah, it turns out it looks more green than
I love it,
black. But I
and this
thought
it
that was
could be.
okay.
I think it's excellent, and this could be Laura. If you're watching, this could be a good example of what a little bit of green could do to the composition. So let me see if I can find a photograph that you
And I'm going
use.
to just send you a better picture. I just took one that seems like it's a little
Okay,
bit closer to the
and in the
color.
meantime, I'll see if I can find the photo. I don't think I can find the photo.
Oh, you can't? It's
Oh
I
yeah, yeah,
chose
yeah,
it
yeah, yeah.
because I
Got it.
really I love skies, and I'm always trying to paint skies. So I thought this was a beautiful one to try to add in there,
Yeah.
just because to my sky collection, because I liked that the foreground was so minimal.
I
So
think it's
that,
excellent. So, based on, I mean, the reason why I bring the photograph, it's not to compare, it's just to extract more information. So
uh-huh.
I love the fact that on the edge, right here, there's a softness that I feel like you could
Yes, work on all of
contemplate, because I feel like
that.
it's
Okay.
really sharp. Um,
Look at the next one I loaded up because it's actually more accurate.
okay,
And it does sort of, I think that it's just the phone doing, it could still use some more reduction, some more softness,
let me see.
but I think
Oh
it's a
yeah, it's a
little,
different photo.
isn't it? I mean, it's just incredibly different. But now it looks like, is it out of focus?
No,
Uh,
now I think
'Cause
my computer is a little slow. Yeah.
I went with a lot of warm tones, you know.
I love is that a little bit of blue here on this area?
That is my gray. So I use two grays. I have that warm Portland gray, which is almost purple.
Right.
And then I have a regular medium gray. And
Oh,
so I was working with those. But then again, the yellow ochre was kind of near the gray. So it got mixed in also.
I think that touch is beautiful. I love the smokiness of this part of the sky. I think it works really well. It just feels very soupy. I
Yeah.
feel like on the upper part, it feels a little bit drier and more
Mhm.
spotted. It's okay because it doesn't have to be all the same way, but the quality right here,
Mm.
it just feels really smoky.
Do you think I need more paint on the upper portions? It's still too
Maybe,
watercolory that I should just add more solidity there in a sense, more
maybe.
opaqueness?
I would consider that because right now, I mean, based on
Mhm.
the sophisticated texture on this part of the painting, on the milkiness of the smoke, it just gives such a contrast with the dryness on the upper part. I would definitely, if you were considering working a few more minutes or so, or
Yeah.
another time, it would just dramatically give you a much more elevated look. You don't have to change colors or anything, but just give it a little bit more body.
More paint.
And I think that could work really well.
Okay. And work on that white section
I
of the
think
cloud.
so. I think that, let me just go back to the photo. Yeah, I
Oh,
think so. I think that, and the reason why, it's because everything feels so sharp on the ground. So you have the
yeah.
trees and stuff like that, that I feel like that soft edge reads like smoke
Yeah.
much more.
More
And
right.
here it
So,
just reads like it's the end of the cloud.
yeah. Okay. Good point. And I put the yellow in there because I wanted to brighten it
Yeah.
because it's so bright on the thing, but I think it could use a little more gray in that. section.
I like the yellow. I think it almost feels like there's prism. The cloud creates kind of like a prism, and then some of the orange from the sky, from the sun, gets broken down at the edge. So I think that's a brilliant idea. I love that it has a few touches. It doesn't feel decorative or you know, kind of like
Okay, I hope
ornated.
not.
It feels really good.
And is the foliage okay and the fence?
The foliage is
section
okay. I
available?
feel like the foliage on this one right here on the right, it feels very like a lot of like dry stems. It doesn't feel as
Okay, maybe make it
canopy-like
a
as
little
the
more
other
solid.
two. Let me
Okay.
see. Maybe they're, oh, that's, I thought it was the photo. Yeah, I would soften the edges on this one because it
Okay.
feels really dry,
Mm-hmm.
sticks. It's very stick-like.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So
Good point.
maybe on the tips, it could be a little bit softer. So it feels
Soften.
more like tiny leaves because you got it
Okay.
here, you got it on this one, but this one has too much of
Too
the,
much. Too much definition.
yeah, I think so.
Great. Well, those are all helpful and not very big jobs to do.
I love
still
it.
work
I
on last week's rather.
say that again. Sorry.
I want to still work on last week's thing. I have not had a chance to
Me
get back to it.
too.
I'm going to do a little bit of that now.
Excellent. No, it makes me very happy. This is absolutely stunning and beautiful. It's a great, it's you, but it's different from other paintings, which I always love when we kind of like show something that's within our style, but different. So compositionally, it's different. And I think conceptually, this is brilliant. So I'm so happy you did it.
Thank you. It was fun. I really enjoyed the whole day. It was great.
Awesome, Julie. Thank you so
All
much.
right. Thank you.
Yeah. And then I'm just gonna, oh my gosh, Lois, come on. That's so
You
beautiful.
guys, I was done so fast with every stage. I had to control myself, which was very interesting. And I really kept looking at the Monet. That was really important, more so than my photograph. Yeah.
Good point. I felt the same way. I needed to go back there to visualize what I
But
thought I
it's
had
really
in my
amazing
mind.
taking a look at that painting. It is so not overworked and thoughtful, and I just have a new respect and for all that style of painting. So interesting.
Yeah. I mean, listen, Impressionism is like so almost like borderline cheesy. Everyone knows it, and it's so mainstream that it's the typical thing to bring up when we talk about painting. But it was so good.
Yeah, wow.
It was so
Wow, everyone's
good.
paintings look amazing. This was such a good assignment. So just
Oh.
ridiculous.
I thank you, and again, I just mostly besides thanking all of you for joining, my gratitude goes for you to for creating such exquisite and beautiful. I just feel inspired, beautiful paintings. So it goes beyond joining.
Crazy to turn this, light and this feeling into a painting. Very
Right.
interesting.
Right.
Not
Because
a beautiful scene yet. I don't know.
Right. Really.
Yeah, everyone's painting so amazing, thoughtful.
Yeah, no, this is, I don't think we would
I just
have had,
added, so all I did while I was sitting here, I added some power lines. I felt like I needed that. I have a few, and they're really subtle in the picture from my neighborhood.
okay, let me
I'm
just
not sure if I
refresh
like
that.
it or not yet. I haven't uploaded it yet.
Oh,
but
okay.
that's all I did to it. But other than that, I think that's it. I think I'm done.
Okay, yeah,
I don't know,
think,
unless you have any other notes for me.
let me just, I'm just refreshing, and then I'll just bring the photo. The painting looks amazing, and I love the fact that it's very pixelated. I think that's very good.
Yeah.
Um,
It's somewhere.
did you add the photo by any
I
chance, or
I did somewhere.
let me see if I find it. Sometimes it gets.
Added it this morning, late.
Oh, here.
Yeah,
here we
there
go.
it is.
Okay, perfect. Um, yeah.
See the power
Oh,
lines on the right
I see.
and the little
Yeah,
crossy thing?
right.
I think that just could help allude to the
Absolutely.
what
You
the
asked
hell,
me,
how
and
the
it's
test.
mhm. It's very
It's not
unconspicuous.
natural, is what I'm trying to say. It's
Right.
not a
Yeah, very
wildfire.
unconspicuously located. So it almost feels like it's hard to find it, but it's there. So I think it's important.
Yeah.
Um,
Cool. Thank
yeah,
you. And oh my gosh.
yeah.
Hello
I
to
would,
everybody. Hope you guys are okay. What's it like in Ojai? The weather, like, is it bad there? For a
The
little bit.
skies have been pretty good. We had excellent air yesterday. Today we have not, well, it doesn't say not healthy, but it hasn't, we're not overwhelmed yet, but it's getting murkier. But it's
So,
been hot.
so who else? Do we have anyone else from England, or are we all California painters today?
I think so. I mean, Hania has been really busy. She got a commission and she's working on big canvases for, I think a hotel or something. So she's been really busy. So I think it's California this
It's
time.
quite an experience to paint this. I almost wanted to paint outside because I can barely see in my house because the light is so weird, right?
Yeah, I mean, I see the light now. I mean, the color of the light is gorgeous. This salmon color, it's so beautiful. But then it's as beautiful as it is really scary. So yeah. Well, I mean, this looks fantastic and incredible. And thanks for painting it. If you want it, I noticed like on the bottom foliage, there's a sense of like puffiness on the canopies of the hedges. Or so if you wanted to bring almost like a double layer, or you bring a difference in the value of the foliage, because right now it feels like very one dimension
Mm-hmm.
compared to the. So it looks great, but that will be my only note. Don't even touch the leaf of the palm tree. That is so brilliant. That's just fantastic. And I love the colors. I like the swirling. I love the sun that it's off center. Um, really good. Really good.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Lois. Yeah, thanks for painting it. This was an important, I think this was important to document.
Mhm.
Cool. So Dina, wow. Um, this is incredible. Thanks. How are you? Thanks for,
Fine, thanks. Thanks. You know, I'm sorry I couldn't join you on Tuesday. I was at another appointment. And then today, you know, listening to the news yesterday, of course, and then the fires and going outside this morning and smelling the smoke. And I was on the verge of not joining because, you know, like all of us, the ups and downs, how you get you know, am I motivated enough to want to paint? But then I turned it around and I said, well, why don't I just try it, right? And so I joined, and of course it shakes me out of that mood of it's too sad to, because I look on the ashes of my car and I know it's somebody's house, it's somebody's belongings, it's somebody's pictures, you know. And when you think of that and the vast amount of people that are experiencing this, it makes me sad, where I feel guilty that I'm in a safe house, and my schedule is such that I can just join a painting webinar now and just start feeling good. So I felt, I don't know, is it the right thing to do? But it is the right thing to do because it's documenting. So here I am,
yeah,
and that's my
I,
painting.
no, I'm so, first of all, thank you for opening up, because I feel like what you just said, it's a good, it comes from a place of frankness and honesty, and it's sincere and it is true. And it makes us realize, personally, it makes me realize that this is, you know, someone out there, a lot of people are just losing everything. So Dina, you're right. It's always like that. We we enjoy things from a place of privilege, and privilege manifests in many ways. And one of those ways is the fact that we're here and we have paint and we are doing this. It is true. It's an undeniable fact, and I feel like for me, recognizing that position, it's the beginning of being able to not only empathize but also take action. So what I'm trying to say is that I try the feeling of being responsible or feeling guilty. I try not to let it overwhelm the fact that I could not only be aware of it, but I could do something. I could talk to someone. I could exchange something. I could offer help. So there's always something that we can do from our place of privilege. And I don't know if that's something that can affect a lot, but I think it's positive. I
Yeah,
don't
well,
know.
everybody's painting, you know, I've painted with the group for some time, and everybody is in the same, I feel in the same group. We all are sensitive to what's happening out there, and, you know, we hope that things get better overall for everyone. But that was the reason why I was hesitant to join today, because I thought, you know, a little bit of that crept in, and then I thought, well, no, you know what, this is unprecedented. I mean, all the themes that you had during this time, it's all about being unprecedented time, and the fact that we've got one thing after another. If it's not the COVID, then it's these terrible
It's
wildfires,
relentless.
and it's,
Relentless.
if we can document it like you plan to, and we're going to put it in a book, I
Yeah.
think, you know, it makes it all worthwhile, because we haven't lost sight of where we are, what we're doing. And if we can use our art to document the hardships that's happening now, then
Yeah,
that's good.
I think so. And you know, from my perspective as well, I think it's important. I mean, one of the artists that I love, that I really feel inspired by, his name was Felix Nussbaum. Felix Nussbaum was an Austrian artist, and unfortunately, he got captured by the Nazi regime and spent some time in one extermination camp and was killed. And he left a legacy of work that it's beautiful, but it in a way documents some of the paintings were done um, when he escaped first, and then he painted about it. And so I'm bringing this up because when I see an artist that has gone through such hardship use the language, visual language, to document something, as a recipient of the painting, I feel there's a connection.
Right.
For me, the story is very tragic, but I feel, you know, he painted and documented things visually, even in the scariest and darkest of time, and still he just did it. It makes me feel responsible for doing something in my time that I'm here alive. For some reason, I just find like out of the darkness and the graveness of the situation, you can still use your visual language to, and we just never know how this is going to impact the future. We just don't know. I mean, right now we're just basking in this wonderful time and enjoying this, but someone may see this in the future, or maybe this will be the vehicle for us to tell a story about the consequences of something that's happening in our lifetime. So we just don't know how this can become the seed that can create a change. So in that sense, I wanted to thank you for not only being sincere about your process, but also for creating something, because I feel like, you know, ultimately it will have a positive impact, and we may not know how it may unfold.
Mhm.
I think.
Yeah, thank you. I don't, is that, I'm not sure if that's the, do you see, I have a reference, the reference picture.
Oh, yeah, let me just
I,
bring it up.
let's see. I don't know if it's, maybe it needs to be refreshed again. I don't know. I kind of changed the reflection a little bit.
I see that you did one wash and you uploaded. And you said you uploaded the photo as well.
It was a photo of, it's got my laptop and my, and what I was looking at as I was
Oh, yeah, yeah,
painting.
yeah. One sec. Let me see. Okay. Wow. This is the photo, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so that, so it helped having yours on screen and then having the Monet and then having the gist of what I was trying what
Right.
capture.
Okay, so that's very good. It helps me a lot in that sense. If you want, I can just extrapolate or extract some information and just so you can apply it if you
Mm-hmm.
want to. And I noticed that to me the punch of that image was the fact that it was um, uh, uh, tainted in one color, or it was
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
dyed. It almost feels like it was a photo that it was dyed in a color. So I feel
Right.
like the extreme sense of monochromatic aspect, I
Mm-hmm.
feel like conceptually that um, comes across. And maybe again, I'm going to use the word subconscious. In a subconscious, it almost feels like the color was so potent that
Mm-hmm.
it washed away any of the colors that they were there before. So it just, there's a dramatic sense of like completely extinguishing any sense of color that was existing, and then having that rust color all over. In that
Right.
sense, I would say consider, if you want to. I mean, I love the composition, and I know that you're still working on it, but that sense of monochromatic aspect everywhere,
Mm-hmm.
unifying the photo or the image, really gave a sense that everyone in the image was affected um, by the fire or by the smoke.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I know you have different temperatures. You have some coolness on the figure, and you have some warmth on the background. Um, so I would be bold and bring strong color monochromatically all over, almost.
Like a one color wash over everything.
Yeah, either that, or you could use a combination of the orange and I would say probably the orange and the yellow ochre to create this kind of like rust. This is a completely different image than the red.
Right.
Um,
And I didn't want to really make it that orange like that. I think it was
okay,
losing, I mean, it was kind of like, it was too strong for me.
okay,
So I wanted to, because I was going by like using Monet's painting
right,
too, where I
true,
didn't
true.
want it to be completely monochromatic. So
Okay,
that's
makes
why I was
sense.
trying to kind of pick up on both of those uh, as reference.
Very good point. Yeah, I totally understand. Well, yeah, I see it in that sense. Thanks for pointing that out, because I feel like I'm veering too much towards the look of the photograph, when in fact you did so much work in getting inspired by the colors of the palette of the painting. So, I mean, I would say if you are at crossroads, you could do either one or the other.
Uh-huh.
If you wanted to implement more of the colors of the Monet painting, I feel like you're still not uh, you haven't dabbled into color yet. I feel like it's very um, it's very desaturated, and perhaps that's the direction that it's going to take, because I think you need to take into account your emotional state as well, because
Right.
just because the color is appealing doesn't mean like you feel in the mood to apply it. So perhaps this
Right.
could be a very moody um, uh, recreation of the scene based on your state of mind and how you approach this.
Yeah.
Um, so there are a lot of things that you could incorporate in that sense, but I feel like it's very shy in color.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and in regards of like a specific technical, completely out of that explanation, I would say one of the things that it's remarkable in the painting. It's the mirror image that the water creates, being the reflector of the sky. So if you wanted to bring this kind of like purple a little bit more pronounced on the water, that's going to give more parity between the surface of the water and the sky, for example.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna brighten it needs a little orange, some brightness of orange too. I think that color would be a better contrast too, because right now the color of the sky and this color of the sun is too close together. So if I can make the sun a little bit brighter or add some yellow a little bit, and then bring some of that lavender onto the reflection.
Yes. I think that would be,
and I've got to straighten it out right now. I don't know if it's because the camera angle I took, but I think it looks not quite exactly straight. So I'll fix that too. And thank you for your notes on the last week's. I'll get to both of those today. I'll fix this one, work on this one, and I'll work on last week's too. So
Dina,
thank you so much.
Thank you, Dina. All right, yeah, so I'm just gonna do one more refresh just in case. And guys, I'm just like, I'm really surprised, pleasantly surprised about the results of this painting. I don't know what I expected. I didn't know what to expect. Let me just rephrase that because that didn't make sense. Mostly because I see, yes, Lois, I love the electrical lines. Yeah, that's very good. But I was gonna say, I'm just gonna stop sharing basically. Yeah, all right, yeah. So I was gonna say that I didn't know what to expect just because I know how difficult it is to get inspired by someone's painting and then trying to incorporate some of the style. I hope it's guaranteed failure because we feel like it's not good enough and then it's impossible. So I'm glad that this was hopefully clear that wasn't the goal of the assignment, but mostly to really appreciate the painting and try to deconstruct it in a way that was able to become practical in our decision making. So yeah, I agree, Dina. The paintings are exquisite. This is surpassed my expectations. I consider this as a color study, and the words color study mean experimentation and exploration. So when that is involved, I just never know what's going to look like in the end. That doesn't make me feel unsure about the process, because that's precisely what's beautiful about studying something. It's constantly, trying to experiment and find out what kind of results we would get. So for me, that was the assignment, the exploration. To see your work, it's just the icing on the cake for me, because it's exquisite. It's not cheap looking, if I can say this expression, meaning commercial looking. And I know that that sounds harsh, because I have nothing against anyone who holds a brush, but the paintings look really elevated. They look very personal and genuinely original. Great exploration of color, you guys. Compositionally, they're brilliant. And that's not even accounting the conceptual value of what we're doing. So I know this is strange, because we're trying to make something that is completely, what's the word, apocalyptic, look pretty. And there's a clash of conceptual intentions here. But at the same time, I feel like I feel really proud that we took the initiative of using our most personal language, our visual language, and encapsulating in our paintings a moment in history that it's going to mark us forever. So I think these are very meaningful pieces of work. I hope you join me. If you can work on them this weekend, that would be great. On Wednesday, I'll be working on that, and I feel like when the paint is a little bit drier, I can do so much more that I want to do, and I just can't wait to shake up the vibrational ethos of the painting and add more strokes. So we'll do that on Wednesday, obviously. But yeah, so thank you so much, Jen. As always, you are amazing. Thanks for being such a great partner and complementing all we do. You really bring a different depth of the experience, and so I can
The
wait
pleasure
to
is all mine, my friend. All.
wait to see you. Yeah, not see you obviously, but when you come back,
There she
travel
is.
safe.
There she is. Oh my God, we never got to see
I don't
Jen.
even see myself. How do you guys see me? Hold on. Oh, there you are. I still don't see
I
myself.
think
Hey. I have no idea where I am.
your hair's getting long.
Oh my gosh, I just cut 3 inches off of it.
What? Oh,
Yeah. Wait,
Yourself?
how do you guys see me? I still don't see
no,
myself.
you never put us on. You
Yeah.
never put your camera on.
You have to go slide to the right, probably. You have
Yeah.
your camera on.
Weird. Oh well.
I know. Finding the beauty, you guys. This was
Yeah, this was
amazing
very good.
assignment. This was an amazing assignment. And just even looking at us on our camera, I can see the light is glowing. We're glowing from this weird light.
Mhm.
This is the best light, absolutely. For sure, it's like a filter.
Even though it's so
Unfortunately.
As
dangerous.
painters, we are like, Jesus.
Mhm.
Hard to breathe, but we look good. No.
Well, maybe
Listen.
fight. We're learning.
It's golden hour. It's golden
It's a
hour
tragedy.
all day long.
Golden hour.
Yeah, but at the same time, yeah, this is pretty. I feel like we're not even. This is so new that, hi Denise, we're not even computing the effects of what's going on. I mean, we're just reacting to it. It's
We're
almost
reacting
like
to it.
but we're not really processing. I mean, we are, because we are very intelligent individuals and we know the significance of this and we know how dramatic this is, but at the same time, we're not really computing the effects, I think. So
Well, we just spent 3 hours concentrating on it. You know what? We weren't denying it. We weren't too tired. We were exhausted, yet we still paid attention to it. You know, and it's important. And we can share these. These paintings are as important as the photographs that are happening right now. They really are.
if I may say also, it just seems that, you know, stories are getting suppressed, and if there's any value of what we're doing, because obviously no one from outside of the state seems to care about what's happening right now, and we know that politics get involved, but it seems like whoever's in charge right now, they could care less if we would just all burn down. So there's no intention of changing any environmental policies. And I feel like unless we resist that narrative, we're just going to get invisible, and this will just pass, and no one will really care. So it almost feels like there's an effort, a very passive aggressive effort. So this kind of like goes away next week, and then we don't have to talk about it. So if anything, this paintings should just keep this narrative alive. So and make sure that it's visible, and not let anyone push this narrative under any rug.
These are all have so much meaning. They're very heartfelt. I mean, a photograph can't do the same as what our paintings do.
No, I agree.
Painting documents it, but a photograph documents it, but a painting describes how we feel being in it. And all your paintings, you guys, today, they did that.
Yeah, I think so. I think I couldn't agree more. Plus, not to mention that the photo from our phones, it doesn't really capture the light, you know.
No, I was trying to share with my girlfriends from the Midwest. You know, it's where I grew up, and I'm like, I would take a photo from my phone, and it would just be kind of blown out looking. It didn't have that feeling.
That's the same impact.
Yeah.
Right.
It's going to go on for weeks and weeks, I think. My brother in
so,
Oregon.
Julie?
Oh, yeah.
Your brother's in Oregon?
Oh, and he's in Portland, and he said they can't see across the street practically. It's so, I mean, it's so dense
Oh.
there. They can't go outside,
Yeah,
and
my girlfriend taped her windows. She has asthma, and she put
Yeah.
tape
that's what he
inside
did.
windows, and they made these box fan filter things.
Oh, it's really hard. And Northern California is like that. Did you see the pictures of San Francisco? Oh my God.
They
Yeah.
couldn't even, there was a picture from San Francisco that you couldn't even see the
Off of the bridge.
yeah,
right?
the tops of the bridge. All you can see is like the lines go up, and then all it is smoke.
Hey,
You don't, you know it goes up, but you can't see it.
Right. No.
We went to Oregon 2 weeks ago, and when we drove back down, it was smoky. I swear, like an hour before we got to California, all the way to the Gorman Pass, there was
Oh my
smoke.
gosh.
Oh,
Wow.
So it was amazing, especially around San Francisco. I mean, around Sacramento.
mm.
And then I know we're all animal lovers too, so you think about,
my God.
Yeah.
Wildlife in there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's very
Yeah.
devastating.
So many people.
Wow.
so I put a link in the chat. I run the Climate Reality Los Angeles Instagram.
Oh,
It's a really wonderful, it's an international organization, and we have a local chapter. So if you guys are interested, and I would be happy to share your paintings and your photos, because what I've been doing this week is showing actual photo, not BBC photos or Los Angeles Times photos, but actual people's photos from their backyards and how they're feeling. I've been sharing their photos, and
oh
I'd like
that's great.
photos and paintings, and it just I'm hashtagging it climate change is real. Here,
Yeah.
we are experiencing it. We are,
Yeah.
that's happening. So that's something can
And
do
what's the Instagram account?
Climate Change Reality Los Angeles.
Okay, great. Excellent.
So can you send it, Jen, also on the email that we got?
Yeah, I put it in the chat, so that would be
Yeah.
great.
Okay.
Everybody.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's kind of like spread the word, and then that would be a good idea. So thanks, Lois. I mean, yeah, thanks for providing that.
But
And
also,
on 9/11, this is another thing to bring us together, It's like
but you
always
guys,
tragic things.
someone tweeted like they showed a picture of someone in a mask with the fires, like to the future. Like, how Julio's always referencing the future.
The people in the future.
Like, are you wearing the mask because of the fire? And they're like, oh no, that's something else.
Oh my gosh.
Like
That's
the
the other
layer.
devastating thing.
And so these paintings and this book or this exhibit is just, that is exactly it. So they're so important every week, and to show up every week. And I know how you feel about if you can show up or not.
Yeah, no, of course.
That we
yeah.
do show up is
Especially in America, we really don't have any kind of real bad things that happen, like 9/11 was, but as time goes by, we are getting more things to deal with, as the rest of the world has been dealing with things like this for many years, wars and all that sort of thing. But we are like little innocent.
we were
little
so
people.
naive, so naive.
Yes.
So
Or
naive.
to us, we're growing up in a sense.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Wow. Well, thanks for sharing all that. I really appreciate it, and it makes me feel not alone. So that's the whole point as well. So
Yep.
it's nice. I mean, it's
Yeah.
because when we have to cope with all these events, being isolated makes it more overwhelming. So, it's important to have the opportunity to, get together, talk a little bit about this, and so we feel like, exchange, share. I think that's important. So
Express.
You're not only the color alchemist, you're the love alchemist.
Yeah,
Oh.
that's right.
oh, that's so funny.
No, Julia?
No, it's good. Yeah, it's good. One day we'll just be able to meet again, but for now, this is the best we can do, and at least we can do it. So talk about privilege. At least we can do
Yes.
it. So
Right? And we are history. We are making history every week. Every week is history.
Yeah, great
painting.
topics. You have a
Yeah.
great
All
topic.
right. Well, this monkey has been
Oh.
bugging me, so I think she wants to eat.
So sweet.
So I'm gonna
You too.
check out
Bye,
and
everyone.
wishing
Thank
you
you.
everyone the best weekend. Thank you again. You guys are incredible, and I love your
Oh.
work. Yay!
Mine is too big to pick up.
Yeah, I know.
Oh.
No. Yeah. Oh, this is so awesome.
Oh,
Look
look
at
at all the
this photo.
dogs. Yeah, we should just have a dog show.
Yeah. Wait, Jen, take a picture. This is so funny.
Oh, look at them all. Oh, that's so great. They help us
Laura,
paint.
yours is like, what the hell?
Another one.
Oh, that's amazing.
Oh.
This is my mom's.
Oh,
Oh.
gosh, I didn't
She's
know.
supposed to be 10 pounds.
Oh my God.
Oh.
He's big.
She's 20.
Oh,
Like
no.
Cute. I
Oh
love
my
it.
God, it's so funny.
Tell your mom hello. Jen.
Wow.
That's so
Tell your
So
mom hello.
cute.
I hope she feels better.
I will, babe. She'll be so happy to hear from you.
Oh, well, that was the best.
That one, licking the face.
That was
Yeah.
the best thing.
Very kissy, this one.
No, so sweet.
All right,
Kissy.
guys.
All right, take care. Thank you so
you.
much.
Thanks
Bye,
again. This was
guys.
fantastic.
Bye.
Talk to
Thank
soon.
you.
Have a
Bye,
great
everyone.
weekend.
Safe.
Bye.
Bye.